What's good, people? It's Chi, and right now we're going to get into a video about how to do follow-ups or how to build a follow-up workflow in REI Reply. So let's get into it. So ultimately, when you jump into REI Reply, you're going to start from the dashboard, right? So let me start you from where you usually start. And this is a dummy account, so there's nothing in here. It's all a test account. What you want to do is go to automations, and this is where you build out your workflows. So I have my agent outreach follow-ups here. I'm not going to show you that. You can create folders however you like. I like folders to keep everything really pretty decently categorized, so I know where to find things. You probably want to do that because as you build out workflows, you'll have a ton of them, and then you can just go find them by searching for them or just going into your folder. So you don't want to build out a folder, but right now we're not going to build a folder. We're just going to go to create workflow. We're going to start from scratch. So we're building a quick workflow here. This is not by any means a complicated workflow. This is just something that you can build really quickly if you want to do some follow-ups. We can get into some extra super complicated workflows later on, but I think right now, starting out, if you're just starting out as a beginner, you want to just learn the basics with building workflows, and that's what I'm going to show you here now. So you come in, you're going to name it. So let's just say that this is follow-up. We'll just name it 1 like that, and I got too many L's in my follow-up. All right, so we'll do that. So what triggers your workflow? Well, I like to use tags to trigger my workflow. So that way when I'm in contacts, I can, categorize my contacts, and then I will tag them all with, or if you're having a conversation with an individual in text messages, I can just tag them with whatever that tag is, because I know I want to follow up with this person. Say, oh, I know this person is interested in selling their property to me, so I want to tag them to follow up, right? So you will do a tag. So we're gonna go with tags, and you can kind of search here. It's a little bit faster if you search for this stuff. Contact tag. You can give it a name if you want to, so we could say follow-up tag. This makes it easier on you when you go back to find it. You're gonna add a filter. So this means when the tag is added, the workflow will trigger, right? So we're selecting a tag. We're gonna create one. So I already have ones that say follow up. I'm gonna say follow up with a star on it. So I'm gonna add that as a new tag, follow up star, right? Now you can name it whatever you want, but you just need to remember this. I keep a Google Sheet with all my tags and what they do, so that I can come back to it if I forget, because sometimes I forget myself that I set something up and I need to have those tags set up somewhere. In a Google Sheet, it really helps. You just have two columns. One column will say tag name, another one will say what it does. So it may shoot out a text, it may shoot out whatever it does. You want to kind of keep up with what you create, and it can get to be a lot when you're doing a lot of stuff in REI Reply. You really want to get the software to do what you want it to do. There's going to be problems that you run into, and you're going to have to create workflows to solve them. Learning these workflows is important. So let's go to next. So we hit save for that, right? So the follow-up tag is what will trigger this, right? Okay, what's our first action once we've done that? So the first thing I like to do is mark the conversation as read. Let's see. I think it's just conversation. Yeah, edit conversation. So I'm going to mark the conversation as read. And we're not going to do anything there. So we'll put mark I like to name all these things, because if you don't name them, then when you come back into your workflow later, you don't know what you did here. So you actually have to click into it. So I can just come and read this and say mark conversation. All right, I know what that does, right? After that, I'm going to remove from all other workflows. Now you don't have to do this, but I do this so sometimes workflows can clash. You want to make sure that it does not include current workflow. If you leave this like this, it will actually not go any further than this step. No matter how many other steps you create, this will be the last step. So you want to do this. When I first got into doing workflows, I actually hired a guy to do my workflows, and he left all of these stuck right there. So all my workflows were failing, and I had no clue why. I didn't want to mess with him anymore, because I figured if he made that kind of mistake, no need to talk to him. I went and this is what prompted me to learn this, because he built out a whole system for me for agent outreach, and I didn't much like it. He's also worked for some of the bigger named agent outreach platforms as well that I won't name. But he built it for me and forgot that. So I decided to learn how to do this stuff myself, and it's been beneficial. So we're going to save that, remove from all workflows. Again, this basically will prevent you from having workflows clash. If you have two workflows going on at the same time, they could actually send messages the same day. And if they're both kind of like follow-up messages, you don't want that. So I remove from all workflows. Let's see. And so now from here, you may want to say, okay, so what does this workflow, how long do we want to wait? Like, you know, before we reach out to this person, right? We want to go reach out to this person when? And so let's see. So I may want to go with, let's see, let's say wait 7 days. So we'll go wait, type in wait. I'm going to put 7 DAYS. And then we'll go here and click this up to 7. Instead of minutes, we'll put days. I don't really mess with the advanced window. You could actually make sure it doesn't send out on weekends or whatever the case may be, but we're going to just leave that as blank now, because in settings you can basically set, you're going to want to set this up later. We'll go through the settings in a little while after we finish the workflow, right? Wait 7 days. All right, and what are we going to do after we wait 7 days? After we wait 7 days, we're going to create a SMS. So we can actually see this is right here, SMS. And we can say, what do we want this to say in our follow-up? We can say, hey, comma, we'll use a custom value. We're going to go to the contact's first name. So that will actually put their first name there. We spoke a few days ago about your property at, and you go back to custom values here. I'm going to go to contacts address 1. I don't want to use their full address, so we're going to go to address 1. That should just pull up their address. You thought about what we discussed. I'd love to talk soon. All right, so I'm just typing whatever. You can type this however you do. This is just for the purposes of this. Don't try to think about what I wrote. I'm not thinking about what I wrote. I might have said something different if I really kind of thought about it. But that's and you can also use templates. Like if you have a template here, most of mine are for agents. We're gonna set that up. Oh, let me name this spoke a few days ago. That's the name of it, right? So we'll save that action, right? Then we'll go and wait again. Let's see, we'll wait 1, 2, 3, 4 hours this time. So if they don't respond, we want to wait, and I didn't name it, 4 hours. If they don't respond, we'll send another text message, and that message will be like, okay, did you get my last text? We'll just keep it as that. Simple as that right now. I keep forgetting to name these. All right. So we'll save that. Did you get my last text? And you can go on and on from here. You can if you're the type of person who really wants to bombard people with messages, I've seen people do this 10 messages long. We'll say, okay, wait. We want to do another wait, and this time we're going to wait, let's say, 1 day, right? And if they don't respond, what we'll say is, just checking again about I'd love to chat further on this. So that will be our, for this one, we're just going to say that's our last one. So what we're going to do now is tag remove contact tag, and we're going to remove the follow-up that we set up. So follow up with the star, we're going to remove that, save action. Okay, so why do we remove that tag? The reason is because you basically want, when you come back later, you may want to run a person through this follow-up workflow again, and if that tag is there, it will not re-trigger it. So you have to remove the tag. So the tags have to be removed, and that will be basically the end of our workflow. Now you could go further, and you could, if they don't answer the SMS, you could do something like this. We can add wait, another wait. We'll wait, let's see, 1 more day. 1 day. And say they don't respond to that, then let's do a manual call. And what that does is it puts them in a queue for a manual call. So if you have a whole bunch of people that you're texting and following up with, you can also later go set up your power dialer to manual call everybody in this workflow. And I have a video on building a power dialer. You can find it on my scroll. I'll put it in the description here. But if you want to, you can set up a manual. You can set up a power dialer to manually call all these people, and then from there it would go to remove tag or whatever the case may be. But we're gonna delete that. I don't like to do manual calls too much. Sometimes I do, but for this tutorial, we're gonna leave out the manual call. Just want to keep it basic, and that will be removed from workflow. Current workflow, and that is the end of our workflow. Oh, you know what? I forgot to show you all the settings. So before you finish up, you need to go into settings. So once you finish your workflow, you're going to want to go into settings, and here we're going to click on allow re-entry. This means that people can go through this workflow multiple times, because you're going to follow it. You may want to follow up with people more than once, right? So the other thing is you want to click on stop on response, meaning if they respond, the workflow is not going to continue. It will stop sending out. Okay. Account time zone, you're going to go to contact time zone, because you may be calling people in, say you live in New York and you do deals out in California. Well, obviously there's going to be a time difference. You want these only to send out in the contacts time zone. And I have a time zone video so you can set up your contacts according to their time zone as well. You're going to want to set that up so that you don't run into the problem of texting people late at night or super early in the morning. So you'll do that, and you can set up a specific time window. Say this is set up to 8 to 5 Monday through Friday by default. You can add Saturday and Sunday if you want. I tend to not bother people on Sundays. And that's that. You don't need to mess with sender details because we don't have any emails in this. Conversations, marker toggle this if you want the conversations that this workflow will interact with to be marked as read. I've never used that, so you won't use that for this. So we'll go to publish, hit save, and now that workflow is ready to go. Whenever you tag somebody with that follow-up tag, this workflow will run, and you have to remember, in 7 days it's going to send them a text. Hey, we spoke a few days ago. You know, are you still interested in selling your property? That sort of thing. So that's what this is for. It's also helpful with agent outreach. I use it a lot in agent outreach. You just reach out to an agent, a new agent. 7 days later, you want to remind them, hey, I'm still here looking for properties. Boom, you hit them with the 7 day, and you may hit them with another one. Now, some people I know will set this up so that it doesn't stop on response, and then they just have this continue to hit people up every 7 days or every however many days it'll hit them up. I tend not to like that because I may be speaking to that agent and then it's still sending messages. I like to be able to be in control, so it's not sending people messages and they're asking, why are you sending me messages? We just spoke yesterday, that kind of thing. So this is a very basic follow-up workflow. They can get much more tricky and complicated than this. I'll show you another one that I have built. You can see here, this is a follow-up workflow that is for realtors that I've closed deals with, and it gets a little bit more complex. Whereas this workflow will basically count the number of times I followed up with a person, and if I followed up with them a certain amount of times, it will slow up or speed up the amount of times we follow up based on how many times I've actually followed up with the person. Now that is a lot more complex, and we can get into that later. But for now, we get you the basics. I also use ChatGPT to actually write a version of what I said, so that every time I send this out, it sends out a different message, and you can do that as well. It costs a little bit of money when you send out ChatGPTs. I forgot exactly how much it costs, but every time you send out one of these messages, it costs you a little bit. So if you're not wanting to spend a whole lot of money, I would not do it that way, but I do have it set up, and it waits a few minutes and follows up, and it does a math operation to basically determine how many times you followed up with the person. So we're not getting into it. We'll keep it simple. If you want more complex workflows, you don't want to build it out yourself, you can always reach out to me. I can build these things out for you. Or if you're on the fence about REI Reply, you don't have REI Reply, but you're wanting to do REI Reply, if you get REI Reply from my affiliate link, I'm willing to share with you my workflows, and you'll have this workflow, this workflow and many others to help you with your follow-up. Now, I will say this, that my workflows are built for agent outreach, but REI Reply does come with a bunch of workflows that are dedicated to direct-to-seller marketing. So, and they have some pretty good workflows as well. That is that, and hopefully you learned a basic idea about how to build a workflow. And if you want some help, reach out to me. I'm gone.